I'm Jeff Demery with the Salon Business Podcast, and I have Jon-David with me, the Mafia Hairdresser, and we're going to talk about Twitter today. Jon-David, hello. How are you today?
Good, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Like I said earlier, this is an experimental kind of thing here on air, so you can kind of get a look at us, and hopefully I don't scare you too bad seeing me on video as opposed to just audio. But what we want to do today is talk about Twitter, talk about how salons can utilize it, how Jon-David is utilizing it. Over a period of time, I've gotten to know him online, and then we've kind of made contact and first met him via Twitter, and over the last several weeks he's actually really helped me a lot with examples and ways to engage people and just really a really good knowledge of Twitter. I was kind of one of those where I thought, oh, well, why would I ever need Twitter? I mean, I can understand, maybe some of my friends might want to know what I'm doing and things like that, and then we got to the point where I understood more about how you engage people and how you do things like that. So I guess just to start off with, Jon-David, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Mafia Hairdresser came from a book I wrote called Mafia Hairdresser, and it was I was a short time a hairdresser to a mob couple in the 80s in California. So I wrote a book about it, and that name just kind of stuck. You're the Mafia Hairdresser, and so yeah, so now it's trademarked. And now I do consulting as Mafia Hairdresser for, started out salons and spas, but now big companies, big corporations, as well as soon to do much more action, social media interaction, and teaching with salon brands, hopefully some nice big brands, so then they can turn around and teach the hair salon social media, even setting up programs to do that. So that's what I do.
And then I guess kind of just transitioning from that into kind of helping everyone that is watching today and listening. There'll be a couple different options. You'll be able to hear this audio later on the Salon Business Podcast here in the next week or two. Obviously we're live, and then there'll be links that you can watch the YouTube video at a later time to do. So if you have to leave a little bit early, you can always come back and just check our Twitter feeds at Salon Spa Chat or Salon Biz Podcast, and we'll be updating with links, etc. But just getting started with it, let's just give everyone a pretty general overview of how you view Twitter and maybe giving them some ideas on how they can view Twitter.
Yeah, how we view Twitter, and I think there's a gal named Heidi Thorne on Twitter, and you and I talked about it. It's a big party. It's a big cocktail party. You walk in, and all these conversations are going on at the same time, and you can join in and really attract people of like mind and like business or customers. If you see people chatting online about the hair salon business, or they're looking for a hairdresser, you as a salon or a stylist can certainly say, hey, we're available and we're in your town, and here, check us out. So I view Twitter as this ongoing party that you can interact with and have fun with and make it very personal. So that's the way I look at it.
So transition from that. Let's say as a salon, we probably have different levels of people that are listening today generally, and let's just start in a very basic mode as far as how, if I'm a salon owner or a hairdresser that I just want to get started with Twitter, what are the first steps to get started?
The first steps is read the directions. Because a lot of salon owners and stylists want to do Twitter because they think everyone else is doing it, or it's like everybody's doing it, and they see it on the screen at the bottom of their TVs, and so they think it's something they have to do, but then they don't read the instruction manual. And the plug is, go ahead, buy my book, Twitter for Salons and Spas, at Amazon, but that's a good instruction. Or you can go to salonspachat.com, and at the right-hand corner at salonspachat.com, you've got all the blogs on how to. Basically, you've got the instructions, and it's set up your profile professionally. You see so many stylists and salons with very bad profiles. So a good social media person like me who would be a client, or come to your salon. The problem is that I look at the profile and go, they're really not social media savvy, so I might reject them because of their profile. So a good profile is key. And then the third part to that component is really, really set yourself up to be automated, to where you're broadcasting everything from your salon, be it your gallery pages, your services pages, your blogs, and just broadcast them, maybe 2, 3 a day on auto tweet. And a lot of people don't even know what auto tweet is. It's when you see my Twitter feed, that's all automated. The 10 to 20 to 30 tweets a day, most of it's automated to broadcast at that particular window of time. If someone's on Twitter and they're seeing that my Twitter feed, they're going to see, oh, Jon-David is a consultant, or Jon-David is a hairdresser, or he's a writer, here's a book. So I'm constantly broadcasting what I do, and the very few minutes that people might be on Twitter, I'm more inclined to get them as a new Twitter friend, which might develop and hopefully develop into a partnership or a customer.
And when you talk about kind of automating, like, what are you using to automate your feed?
Well, my favorite has been bufferapp.com. Buffer has a great program where you can just program in your Facebook, your LinkedIn, and your Twitter posts, and you can put, this is my blog on new hairstyles, and with the URL, plug it in there and set it on auto, and Buffer will tweet 3 tweets a day for you, or post twice a day on Facebook, or 10 times a day on LinkedIn. And it's very, very easy. It's super easy. Let's say you're busy that month and you don't want to, you don't have 100 tweets or posts, or you can't think of them, then that's okay. You can set to 1 tweet a day or 1 post a day. And so the Buffer is great. Hootsuite is another one. I think that's the standard for social media people to really, overview their overall Twitter usage, and to really view their mentions, anybody mentioning them in a tweet. I think they're kind of a little the same and different.
And just kind of a broadcast note here, for those of you, we are on Salon Spot Chat, and I see some people are commenting now, but if you do have questions, I'm monitoring that, and we can kind of pass them on to Jon-David here as they come along. But as far as Buffer App goes, like when you talk about the content that's on Twitter, like historically, there's different levels of content, just kind of explain to everybody, but let's say, obviously the podcast is one kind of content, but let's just kind of go with the old-fashioned, and it's funny to say old-fashioned when you're using the internet, but really the old-fashioned content is blog, or the real go-to where people write blogs to get traffic for whatever reason. And then, on Facebook it might be photos or different things. Like, what is typical content that you would use on Twitter, or are you even worried about that? Are you more worried about engaging people by shouting out to them and thanking them, or commenting to them, or what are your thoughts on that with Twitter and accessing content?
Oh, well, content is the same with, I think, all across those platforms. With the Instagram, it is visual, and people just love that. The Facebook, definitely keep more visual, and you can add the URL, the link back to your podcast, or the link back to your website or blogs and so forth. Always a picture is really great with them. With Twitter, you don't really have the picture per se, but if you say, this is a picture of me and my dog, I mean, I can tweet very, very important stuff on green issues on Twitter, or these great events coming up with social media greats, go sign up with this event, or I'm going to be appearing at this restaurant. Those are really great, and people click onto those. But the minute I post on Twitter, this is a picture of me and my dog Junebug, it's amazing, because people it's just be personal, and I think the more personal you are with Twitter and Facebook and so forth, that's when people really love it, and that's what I think. Twitter is very personal. So yeah, you can be professional, keep your posts going, you keep your auto tweets going, but every once in a while, please just let us know you're a human being behind that Twitter chat.
We have a question. Jada Beauty tweeted this out, and I thought you had talked about the profile
Mhm.
earlier, and kind of recognizing what a good profile. Like, give us some do's and don'ts on the profile, setting up Twitter profile.
Do's and don'ts. Well, leave out in the profile where it says John David is da da da. Don't add if it's Salon Biz Podcast. You don't need to write Salon Biz Podcast again, or maybe Salon Business Podcast to make sure people know that what it is. But leave all the information in where it is. So if my Twitter handle is Mafia Hairdresser, I certainly don't need to say Mafia Hairdresser anywhere in my profile. Save room. Don't put and, is, and extraneous information. Give us the real big information that we want you to know about me, and that is that he's a salon consultant. He does a host of a salon podcast, or if it's a hairdresser salon, we are. You don't need to put Chicago because it's going to be automatically in the bottom. You don't need to put your URL, but put award-winning salon and spa, award-winning hairdresser, or Yelp. Post even a Yelp review would be great, but make it enticing. But take out extraneous information for the profile.
And then you're talking about, you had mentioned earlier in the same kind of vein of the profile, and like as a social media professional, you see something and you might be less likely to interact with them just because they don't really take their profile that seriously. Like I said, like enough there, I think. Sorry, I have a teenage son. But anyway, on the demographic part of it, like let's say in the way this is just personal observation, but Facebook, it seems like it's getting to the point where it's rolling over to be an older demographic. So, and what I mean by that is the people that are kind of all coming in now are over 35 or 40 or 45, 50, right?
Yeah.
But then when you talk about Twitter, I think that's a younger demographic. Am I right about that, or I mean, what are you when you're looking at a demographic?
The pros in Twitter, the top 5-10%, they're 50 and older, because we saw the business aspect, and it was kind of the techies who are now 40s and 50s. So they're still the top really good ones, and I'm going to include myself in them because they're my friends. So there's that. And the younger generation, here's what the demographic has happened. They are tired of Facebook, and it's being monetized and so forth. And so they're grown up, but they're also coming out of college and moving into the business sector. And they're finding Twitter being very, very useful. So they're cleaning up their Facebook profiles. They can't post the beer bong pictures anymore. So they're kind of shying away from Facebook. So that younger generation is definitely moving towards Twitter. And of course, LinkedIn is huge. And as marketers, as these people move in the workforce, they're finding Instagram and Pinterest as great marketing tools as well.
What about access? Like, example would be, as a salon owner, I sometimes, we'll send out an email blast to our clientele that we've acquired emails to tell them about upcoming things and that might not necessarily be selling anything. We're just engaging with them, and then you'll look at the open rate, and maybe depending on how well you did on the email, you might get a 10% open rate, or you're jumping up and down yelling goody for a 20% open rate. But if you utilize Twitter and you tweet out to people, I mean, do you think like the access is almost quicker and easier via Twitter for people that are actually active on Twitter? Do you see what I mean by that question?
Yeah, I think you have to be simultaneous, as well as don't rely on Twitter precisely for quick interaction, because it is not real time, although it appears to be real time to the masses. A good timed email with a call to action, and utilizing that email on Twitter, it pushes your email much farther. You can use the URL link to your email, and I think Constant Comment and MailChimp, I don't know what email usage you use, but go ahead and use that URL to that email and amplify it on Twitter.
And then, kind of getting into the logistics of Twitter a little bit as far as hashtags, like what are some tips and tricks you use with hashtags?
Hashtags for hair salons and spas, really have a good time with hashtags. If you want to find customers in your area, whether I'm looking at My Salon Scoop, hi Veronica, and or a consultant or so forth. You want to find salons as well. So you can either or. If I'm a salon owner or a hairstylist, I'm going to type in my city with a hashtag and hair or hairstyle or braids, and I'm going to find people in my town talking about that. They're looking for salons. So that's how I'm going to use hashtags to search for my clientele base. I'm also going to search for, on Hootsuite, I might use a search for anything hair related, so I can tweet it back out, information that my followers don't know about hair events around the world. So I can use it for content as well. I think those are the two main things to do. Use it for content and finding your customer to follow and to tweet back to. Anyone that has hair problems, go hair problems, your city. You're going to find daily someone bitching about their hair, so you can tweet them, hey, we have a salon and we have a opening. Come on down to us. You're more inclined to get that client instantly.
Yeah, speaking of that, can you give maybe some anecdotes of some situations where you've utilized that and brought people into your salon?
Oh, yeah. Because of my Twitter connections, I constantly have people tweeting about me and my hair salon, so I hear it. So when somebody's tweeting my Chicago Salon or Salon Spa Chat or Mafia Hairdresser with a hashtag or my mention, they're actually mentioning me and recommending me. And when I want to find, many times I'll just completely find somebody that usually has fine hair. It's usually fine hair is breaking off and they've had a bad hair job. I can find them on Twitter via my city and hair breakage or whatever, and I can say, hey, we have availability in our salon. Why don't you come on down? It happens over and over. I have thinking 2 clients offhand. Fine hair and breakage I handle very, very well, so I find them in Twitter, and now they're my clients.
And logistically, how do you do that? Do you just go to like the search function in Twitter, or kind of tell us how you find them?
Yes, go to the search function on Twitter, and you can program in the words or the words with the hashtag. And I usually do breakage and fine hair and my city in those combinations. Maybe just use 2 words at one time. I'm always going to find somebody with breakage or fine hair in Chicago, and it's gonna pull up, and I'm gonna find some people that day, and maybe some people know people that day that have fine hair or breakage. But I know in my city that people, if they put in the hashtag because I've used it and retweeted it or talked to those people, what's going to happen is they know I'm the expert at fine hair and breakage in my city. So it works both ways.
So just to kind of step back from that and just kind of ask a couple questions for people listening that might want to try that. So when you do search, so you just would go into the search bar at the top, and I just did it here while we were talking, but on fine hair, then the city, is the city usually hashtagged, or are you doing something where you're
I would use a city with the hashtag, yeah.
Okay. Do you ever is there any recommendation you make if somebody, because I know there's programs where if somebody, say I'm in downtown Indianapolis, so if I'm in downtown Indianapolis and I can put out like a circle of X number of miles to find those particular hashtags, is there a way to do that specifically for people, or?
Yeah, I think TweetAdder is the best one for geolocating the people you want. Tweetadder.com, and once you have a profile there, you can use TweetAdder to find people talking about hair in your vicinity, in your town, and you can program it into just Chicago, or talking about hair in Chicago. It will alert you.
That's
I
cool.
think that's the best one.
And then as far as, this is just kind of a question I like to ask social media experts and kind of get their feedback. I know that like for salons that might have a Facebook account now, right? So and then they haven't added a Twitter account, or maybe the way they've added a Twitter account is they post exactly the same content on Twitter as they do Facebook, and it kind of all goes out there, and you're just kind of shoving everything out into the pool of information. I mean, what are your thoughts on kind of double posting across different social networks?
Well, keep them separate. Give people a reason why to join your Facebook page. Give them a reason to be on Facebook. Give them a reason to be on Twitter. On Facebook, why don't you can always post, we have appointments available. And on Twitter, you can do the same thing. It's not going to show up very much. But always make sure your Facebook is that for people. Your call to actions on Facebook should be wide and varied. Please sign up for email and you'll get this. Here's a free product if you come in today. Facebook can be much more interactive that way. And it can be a little bit more real time if you choose to focus on Facebook. And Twitter is a constant putting out of information from your website and constant putting out content that you think will attract your client. And you're just trying to engage people to see that and interact backwards back to your website. So Facebook, I would definitely leave call to actions on there and interesting facts for your clients to know daily about your hair salon, and it can feel a little more personal, a little bit more like a club. So I would definitely keep them different. Give them a different reason for each.
The kind of leading into that question then, as far as we had talked about content earlier with Twitter and what's available out there and what you should do, and then talking about Facebook and different things going on with that. But like with Twitter, the news feed, like the news feed on Facebook, for example, like a lot of people might post once every couple days, and you go check your friends or your business associates or whatever you want to, or pages that you've liked, obviously, on Facebook. And then Twitter seems like a whole different deal, because if you have 2,000 people that you're following just because you're following them back because they're following you or whatever it would be, if you go onto the news feed, it's somewhat overwhelming, or it is overwhelming to me, of all, it's kind of fun sometimes to scroll through and read them, but, I'm never going to have the time to read through 24 hours of tweets. So as a tweeter, as a salon owner and a tweeter, do we repeat things over a period of time just because they might show up in different ways, whether it be somebody's search form or somebody just happens to see it, or how do you view that? How do you work with that?
Well, on my, I've got 3 Twitter accounts, and they each probably have at least 10 auto tweets a day. A lot of that information is the same, maybe reworded, but it's not reworded enough to fool you, so you click on it twice. But the reason is, I know I'm only on Twitter 10 minutes a day. That's it. That's why my book is called Twitter for Salons and Spas. 10 minutes a day wins new clients and satisfaction for old clients. So 10 minutes a day means I'm just viewing Twitter 5 minutes a day in the morning, and I have my favorites. You're one of mine, Salon Biz podcast. I will, specifically look for your tweets, and since you give content that's good, or Integrity Salons, or Salon Small Biz, or Small Salon Biz, sorry, hi Tabitha, they provide me with great content. You all are changing the salon world. So I'm more inclined to retweet you in that 5 minutes, and I can retweet it instantly, or on Hootsuite I can retweet it. It'll go at 3 o'clock when I kind of don't have a tweet going. So yes, I'm going to be repeating my own stuff, but I'm only going to be on 10 minutes a day on Twitter, whereas I'm going to be retweeting your stuff, or stuff that I think is valid to my followers and valid to me.
I think we've covered a lot of information, obviously, and a lot of things with Twitter. As far as your background, you've been doing social media for a long time now, and have a really good understanding. Like, what can you recommend to salon owners and hairdressers, like things maybe a year or 2 years out, or different social media sites that are popping up now? Do you have any recommendations on kind of where you see things heading with some different, like, say for instance, Pinterest, or where will Twitter be in a couple of years, is things like that?
Oh yeah, well, I think the forecast, I've been going to Social Media Week's coming up in Chicago and I'll be speaking at one or two of those events, and and mostly listening and learning. But what I'm getting from the pros that are going out there is Google Plus is going to blow us away in the next year or two. When Google Plus pushes the button and they say they want to take over Twitter's action and Facebook action, I think Google Plus stands to do that. Google Plus, we're just touching the surface. They have a great app for your smartphone. They have a great user profile with Google Chrome, which, by the way, you got me using now. And they have this Google Hangout that we're doing, and then there's Google Chat where there's tons of people can be on the chat. So I think any of your posts and so forth that you're doing on Google Plus can actually be amplified just because everyone's searching for hair salons and spas on Google. By posting it on Google Plus, you're actually going to help your amplification right away just by that linkage. So I think Google Plus is the wave of the future. Twitter, absolutely. I think salons and spas have to learn how to automate, auto tweet, and they'll understand once they use bufferapp.com or a few others are out there. But definitely Instagram is now, and I don't see that changing. And definitely YouTube. I think salons and spas are not utilizing YouTube enough. It's super easy to do. Instagram now has a Insta video, so you can post videos there, just quick little videos, because people want to see your work. People want to see your salon. People want to see you, and that's why people are on this chat. They want to they want to know who this salon business podcast is, or Mafia Hairdresser.
I mean, I think it's just kind of utilizing the internet to connect to people, and if you have to, I mean, tell me what you think. I mean, but you've just said it really, but you have to try to connect with people, not just in a mass way, but individually, because as a salon person, either an owner or a hairdresser, I mean, it's all about connecting to the person in your chair, so you have to connect to them to get them in your chair, and it really is that simple, I think. I mean, don't you? It's just picking somebody and saying, I want to meet them, and I'd love to do your hair, and connect to that. Instead of walking up into a cocktail party, you just tweet to them on Twitter, basically, right? I mean, assuming you can find them on Twitter, I guess. But.
Yeah. my biggest concern with salons and spas and stylists and massage therapists and makeup artists, I'm always out in the community, and I never meet anybody else in the it's just me representing the whole salon spa world, and I don't see a lot of reciprocation. If a salon owner is invited to events, I don't see them going, but I know that salon owners are inviting people to their events. So you have to be reciprocal. It's the same thing in Twitter, Google+, Facebook. You got to like to be liked. You have to interact to be interacted with. So it is social. It's called social media for a reason. It's there to interact and engage and to answer questions. Even our major hair care companies are, they're letting thousands of people follow them, but they'll only follow 250 people. And they don't retweet, they don't interact per se. It's just they're broadcasting. So if you want to get on, be a good salon owner, be a good stylist, just pick 2 platforms and really work with them. And the other ones just keep a presence on, but pick Twitter and Instagram. Pick Facebook and Pinterest. Just pick 2 and do it well.
And that's a great way to put it. They're broadcasting, they're not interacting. And I think, it's kind of funny when when we started our salon. I mean, my wife's been doing hair a lot longer than when we started our salon, but 12 years ago, there wasn't the social media presence. There wasn't any social media, I don't think, actually, technically. But at that time, if you went out and you picked groups of people that were the best social interactors, I mean,
Yeah.
hairdressers would be number one at that list. So if a hairdresser would just take the time and convert themselves over to interacting on Twitter, I mean, they're a natural for it, right? I mean, hairdressers are natural social interactors.
It is. It is exactly that. I think what stops everybody is the techiness of it, or actually reading the instructions. That just stops them in the tracks. And I always have to. If I work with a hair company and I go into a hair salon and I'm representing the hair company going into a hair salon speaking, they'll listen to me. If I'm representing myself as Jon-David or Mafia Hairdresser, they might like, who's that? And then they're paying me to tell them what to do, but it doesn't go as farther. So you know, you gotta pressure them a little bit. Like, here's the directions, here's the book, read the book, or you know, we all have that problem in this industry. Veronica Woods, who is My Salon Scoop, hi Veronica, she's watching right now. She wrote a great book. Look her up at My Salon Scoop on Twitter. It's great. It's a great book, but people have to read it to get the information. My book is a good book, but you have to read it to get the information. That's where I see hair salons and spas and stylists missing the boat. You're going to have to take a few minutes to learn what it is, what the philosophy is behind Twitter or Facebook, and how many posts a day, because you're going to have to change the way you do things to get different results.
I mean, and what you said, I don't think it's too hard. I mean, you know, 10 minutes a day maybe on Twitter or something like that. But I think the way a lot of people look at things within the business, and I know when I get phone calls as an owner of people trying to, you know, get me to invest in different forms of advertising or different things, I mean, the number one question I'm going to ask myself, and I think every salon person should, is this going to save me time? Is this going to make me money?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer to both of those questions is yes and yes. It is going to save you time and it is going to make you money, but you do have to spend some time initially to get past that learning curve. But it's not hard. I mean, I'm doing it. It's not hard.
It's not called. It's not hard. My updated book for Twitter for salons and spas is going to definitely follow. I'm doing one for the same kind of book for not-for-profits, and I added a big section called your Twitter goals or social media goals should be for any of us. What is your goal for being on Twitter? What is your goal for being on Facebook? It is to ultimately achieve more clients, achieve more money, achieve more, you know, visibility in the salon industry, in your community. And the how-to is, you know, the small part. Once you have the goal set, I want to attract more business, I want more money, everything else is easy because you have to learn how to do it. That's the next step.
Kind of another question I wanted to cover today, and then we can probably wrap up here shortly. But what about Twitter advertising? Have you looked into it much, or what are your thoughts on that, or have you given that much thought at all?
Oh man, I think it's now just part of the deal. Twitter's the new yellow pages. I mean, not Twitter. You're talking about Facebook, right?
Well, no, the Twitter ad, not Facebook ads, but Twitter ads. Because
Twitter
you're starting to
ads,
notice, it seems like when you log on.
No.
I mean, at first when they talked about advertising, I was thinking, wow, how are you ever going to see it? But now they've got it basically. You log on, and you'll see the top thing is usually a Twitter ad or the second one down. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on if that'll be effective, or what are your thoughts?
I personally avoid them all unless it's something interesting. I'm working with an NFL alumni association just to raise money for their charities, and you know, we might look at that. So I think that's different. And the only times I've ever looked at the promoted tweets or the paid tweets are when it's for a charity. So if it's just try the new Pepsi +1, you know, I'm going to ignore it. So I wouldn't invest on promoted tweets for salon and spa. Facebook, yes.
Yeah, Facebook, yes, I've had some good luck, and there's a salon business podcast that you can listen to where we talk about that, but it's pretty effective stuff. I just think that's kind of the natural course, isn't it, of social media? I mean, it's free, and then they'll figure out ways to start monetizing. So Twitter's on that step, and then Pinterest is probably the next one to start kind of monetizing a little bit more. So you just kind of have to be aware and kind of understand what works for you, I guess, and maybe experiment with it or something.
Yeah, it is a big experiment at first, but if you look at salons on Facebook or Twitter, who's doing well, which is you can put in searches in either social media platform, you're going to find some good successes in there. You're going to see them doing it over and over and over again. A salon would not be promoting on Facebook or Twitter over and over if it wasn't working.
Well, Jon-David, thank you so much for your time today. I tell you, if you could go over kind of how everyone can get a hold of you, what you're up to, where you're headed, and different things you'll be doing here coming up, and kind of let everybody know a little bit about that, we'd appreciate it.
Well, if you need me, I'm at mafiahairdresser.com. You can always reach me on Twitter at Mafia Hairdresser with one S. I've got Mafia Hairdresser on Facebook. That's easy. You can always join my personal Facebook, which is Jon-David JD. But get me through Mafia Hairdresser. That's easy. If you need any help, please don't hesitate to tweet me or Facebook me or Google Plus me. I would be glad to assist you. I'm not going to probably charge you or anything. If we do consultations, that's a different story. But I'm always here to help the whole hair salon industry and just elevate it as a whole.
That's a great goal. I think, yeah, and that's exactly what we're trying to do here at Salon Business Podcast too. So, any feedback that anybody has on this and want to see more of these Google Hangouts, that's great. If somebody wants to get involved and participate in one and be on a kind of a round table, we're up for doing that. Jon-David, from experience, he reached out to me a few months ago, or I don't know how long. It hasn't been that long ago, and we've kind of gone interactively back and forth via Twitter and via Google Plus and all the social media, and it's been really nice actually talking to you in person instead of just online. But he's very helpful, and in my opinion, he's the most knowledgeable guy out there when it comes to social media for hair salons. So again, thank you for your time, Jon-David, and thank everyone else for listening today, and I hope you got something out of it.
Yep, love you guys. Thanks for joining.